What's up, everybody? It is your boy Heems, and guys, today we're actually going to do a little breakdown and a talk about the one and only the Obi Wan Kenobi series, episode 3. First of all, getting into it with the series as a whole, it is a really good show. Now, to everybody out there, and if you guys recommend it, I will check it. I'm probably going to go ahead and check it anyway, but I never watched Mandalorian. And I saw a little different links and stuff. I always wondered what they would do with like Aaron McGregor and Hayden Christensen. But when I found out that they were actually going to work together again, like that really blew my mind. And to actually sit there and see them come together and actually work on, collaborate on this show was really good. Because basically, the story takes place basically right after the Clone Wars, and as a matter of fact, 10 years after the Clone Wars. And this is at the point where Obi-Wan has, just basically lived a normal life, but had kept hidden. During that time, it was later revealed that, he basically hasn't used the Force in 10 years. So, like, where he was back during the Clone Wars, at his peak, at his prime to fighting Anakin, aka Darth Vader, like it is greatly diminished. And then it's not just even just his abilities that diminished. You could tell that he became more recluse, more reserved. He really didn't like. He didn't want to help anybody. In the first episode, because you actually see where the Inquisitors, because they're basically still doing the job. The whole purpose of the Inquisitors was to basically track down and hunt any remaining Jedi. A lot of the Inquisitors are actually people too who were either fallen Jedi who had turned over and converted themselves to the dark side, henceforth with the red lightsabers and everything. And they land back on Tatooine, and they're basically going through and trying to figure out if there's any Jedi around. They find this one guy, and the character I liked the most that stood out of the Inquisitors, and I feel like to me she stole the show. She actually did a really good job, and her name is, if I'm not mistaken, Moses Ingram, but she basically plays as Reva, and she's basically the third sister in the Inquisitor. She stole that show by a huge margin because actually it cuts to a flashback, which I believe that was her in the past. It was her. It shows a glimpse of like Order 66 being is being active, and they're all younglings and they're all being escorted out by their Jedi Master before the Jedi Master was killed and before they had to eventually leave on their own. But just her personality, like it was like she just knew how to turn it, like where she can, it could be like real self, but then she could crank it up to like a 10 max. And the way she interrogated people, she just has this very conniving, and she even like overstepped even like the leader of the Inquisitors that was there with them. And her force capabilities was really good too. Now at this time, Obi-Wan, he sat there, he's been working, I guess, some kind of little factory or whatever, and he'll cut himself off a piece of meat, and that was pretty much it. He lived like in between these rocks, and he would get little trinkets, whatever he could, either to keep communications open or whatever. But you could tell like basically his mindset was just like that it's over. The only thing his thought process has been fixated on was just looking after Luke Skywalker as a kid, making sure that he gets the proper training. Then at one point he actually runs into Luke's uncle and they have a bit of a spat. Originally the uncle and them agreed to Luke becoming a Jedi, but then the uncle basically reneged on that deal. And I was like, I don't want you basically nowhere near him, just giving him the whole rundown. And then actually what was ironic was that the uncle went into the town as the Inquisitors are coming through, and the uncle gets the worst of it because literally Reva comes up and asks like, you look like you know something, and she asked for his name and was like, oh well, I'm basically keeping tabs on you. So that goes on, and then they cut into Leia. Leia's still a kid. She's actually on her planet on Naboo. Senator Organa and the wife who adopted her, they're pretty much going through their whole ordeals and their meetings, and you get to see Leia. She hides. She doesn't really allow herself to really be a part of it, even though her father tried to get her to do it, her adoptive father. And then at one point she gets kidnapped when she gets kidnapped, they contact Obi-Wan. Two things that kind of changed with Obi-Wan. So during that whole getting back to that part with the whole Inquisitors and being on Tatooine, just scaring the crap out of Luke's uncle. At one point in time, a Jedi runs up on Obi-Wan and is like, "Hey, can you protect me? The Inquisitors are after me." And he's like, "I'm just been at this point, like I can't do nothing for you." He's like, "Come on, like I know who you are." And he's like, "I just can't." And then at one point though, he finally just was like, "Just stay hidden, like the Jedi are gone," and da 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 da. Later on, that Jedi gets hanged and he's dead. So now back to the current situation. Leia gets kidnapped, and that seems to happen a lot to her from being a kid all the way up to her being an adult. Gets kidnapped. Senator Organa calls Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan is like, I can't do it. I'm not the person I used to be anymore. I'm here more for Luke. And he's like, they're both basically twins. They're both siblings. Like, what's good for one is good for the other. And like you see him like where he's like, I'm sorry, like if I can't do it, click. And what's crazy though is that Organa came and saw him anyway, and he convinced him to do it. During this time too, he's been adjusting a lot. He had a lot of nightmares because he's having nightmares of his post-fight with Anakin, and he could just feel something going on. Meanwhile, he doesn't know that Anakin at this point has become Vader. Um, so after Organa comes to the planet, appeals to Obi-Wan again. Obi-Wan finally takes it upon himself to do this mission. He even goes out, figures out where his lightsaber was, kind of goes digging through, gets his lightsaber out. Next to it is Anakin's lightsaber. Goes out, goes to rescue, goes into this little city, and it's like you could just tell with Obi-Wan, like he's just like that composure. It's a lot of anxiety. You just see a man that at this point, and it's not even to say it, it's like he is a shell of his former self. That confident, the being able to predict, like none of that is there. But yet it's like you see him still just trying to like do something. Outsmarts this con artist. Then eventually gets it to where he actually finds the location where Leia is, breaks in, gets into a fight, messes up his hand. I was laughing when he punched the dude, and like he was like, ah. Gets out of there, and of course Reva is like hot on his trail. Like she kind of figures out, some way she knows that Obi-Wan is around. Like she's been able to like, even though she doesn't have a pinpoint on him, Reva's been obsessed, and that's another thing. She's been obsessed with trying to find Obi-Wan. One reason's for Vader, but I can't help but feel like there's something else that we'll find out, I guess, later as the series continues to progress. But finds Leia, rescues her, lies to her for a bit, giving him a false, different name. At one point in time, Leia and him, Leia thinks that Obi-Wan's actually here to kidnap because she sees the bounties, and it shows the picture of Obi-Wan like, oh my god, you're the one that's actually here to get me. Runs away from him. He's trying to catch Leia, shooting around, trying to do this. At one point, Leia and them, they get to the top of a tower, top of a building. She falls, and he's using the Force, and this is to show you how disconnected he is from the Force at this point, because it took everything in him to keep her from falling. He only was able to use the Force just enough to give her a nice, gentle landing on the ground. Releases her. They eventually link up. During that time, Reva too was bumping heads with the Inquisitor, especially the leader that was with them as a whole. The leader kept feeling like Reva was undermining their authority, wanted her to stand down, but she wasn't going to let that stop her. She wants to get Obi-Wan. So she starts to make her way towards him. Leia and Obi-Wan, they finally kind of like start to get a little bit more cool. And the guy that originally conned Obi-Wan actually ended up helping him in the end to get to where a ship was going to get to another planet, which will then eventually get them back to Tatooine. Gets on the ship. The con artist sat there and kind of eludes Reva. It cuts to the third episode now. This is where, like, this was really good. Like, on that third episode, they get to the cargo. It was promised to them as soon as they get to this planet that they'll get some help so that they can get to where they need to go next. And they walk out in the middle of the desert, and of course they have to go with this thing of like they're from Tala. Obi Wan is under another name, I think Owen, and the daughter, and basically Leia's basically playing as if has to pretend that she's somebody else, like you're my daughter. You don't say anything. You can't even talk. Go out to the destination, and he gets impatient, and he's like, "Damn it, I should have never trusted that con artist." Leia's trying to be that, give people the benefit of the doubt, give them a chance. He second guesses it, and they start to walk off. Leia sees a truck go by. She weighs the truck down. He's like, don't do that. And it's like, no, you gotta trust people. You gotta have faith. In hindsight, if Obi-Wan would have waited just a little bit longer, but you'll see where this is going, things could have been a little bit more smoother. But follows Leia's lead, and by this time, keep in mind that both Leia and Luke are 10 years old at this point. They're kids. And so they get on this truck. It has the Imperial symbol on it, which means Imperial, Vader, all them. They get on this truck. It's just the two of them in the back. The driver, he's asking questions. Oh, hey, where are you guys from? And they basically tell him, oh, we're, just visiting a family member, such and such. And, oh, okay, cool. Driving. Runs to a set of Imperial soldiers. Imperial soldiers get on. They're like, hey, got some other buddies up in there. You want to come on through? And I'm like, and it's funny because the driver is a alien mole. And it's like, that's ironic that he happened to be a mole. Gets the Imperial soldiers on the back with Obi-Wan and Leia there, and they're just trying to keep it cool. And they're like, "So, where you guys are from?" Like, "Oh, we're just visiting family, and this and this." Obi-Wan drops the ball. He actually calls Leia by her name because originally he says, "Oh, I'm Owen, and this is such and such," and ends up saying they're like, "Oh, Leia." He's like, "You just said her name was Leia. I thought you said her name was something else," and he was like, it was like, ooh, is this where Obi-Wan's gonna have to break out that lightsaber fight? But then he plays out. He's like, you know what? When I look at her, I think of our mother and of how we lost her, and so Leia has that look, and it's like I think that's a realization for Leia. So at one point in time, they get to the checkpoint. Get off. The soldiers get off before the checkpoint. They get to the checkpoint, and some more Imperial troops are by that checkpoint. They go up to the mole, dude, the driver, and he's like, yeah, I think something's up with them. I'm like, I knew it. Gets back there, asks them to get out, has a droid come to actually scan his face, and he's like, pull your head up right now. And he had his hood on, and like Obi-Wan wasn't looking. Looks up, it starts to scan, and then after that, Obi-Wan grabs the gun, just starts shooting, kills everybody. Then at one point, the person that was supposed to have met him at that destination once they arrived on that planet came in to help them, but they was dressed as an Imperial or a general. Killed the remaining soldiers that was left. And she even mentioned the person that came to pick them up and impersonated as a soldier. She was like, well, I looked at you guys in the original destination. I didn't see you guys there. And it's like, Obi-Wan dropped the ball again. He should have stayed where he was at the first time when they landed on that planet. And during that time, Leia asks Obi-Wan a few questions, like, well, as if, are you my dad? He's like, oh, I wish, but no. He's like, do you know my mother? And it kind of helps to build that relationship. And it helps ultimately to tie that relationship for, like, in New Hope, where you hear Leia say, like, Obi-Wan, you're my only hope. And then she phases out, boom. It builds already that camaraderie between them. Now, just a quick rewind to episode 2, just a little bit towards the end. Reva, and I forgot to mention that, when they got past that impersonator or that con artist, Reva eventually did catch up to Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan was waiting for transport so they could get to that planet. Reva catches up, and then she's playing mind games and talking to Obi-Wan, and then he was like, oh, he lives. You didn't know? Vader, and like you just see Obi-Wan like he's getting PTSD, he's getting flashbacks of Anakin. He's like, yes, Anakin still lives. Escapes into the cargo, then they get to the planet, go to that destination, don't see him there. Gold wanders off, gets on that cargo, runs at that checkpoint. Everybody died. Everybody gets destroyed over there. Then runs into the girl that was originally supposed to meet with them. Now we're back on that timeline. During that time, Reva talks to Vader, and Vader is like, I only care about one thing. I want Obi Wan. So she just made that her sole mission, and you see one of the Inquisitors. Basically, they're rivaling her because at one point she comes in, she wants to sit in the head seat. Dude's like, you ain't sitting there. That's my right. But she was like, well, I got the order from Vader. Vader told me that I'm here to bring him in. And he was like, oh, you ain't gonna do that. It's my chance to shine. Like, we'll see. They arrive to the planet that they're currently on, after being escorted by the person that was actually supposed to help them once they landed. Vader comes to that planet, and the way that scene is set up, it was so beautiful because it was like they were in that town, and Vader is just ruthless. He is a savage. He pulls the father out and is like force choking him, lifting him up in the air. The son comes out, and you're thinking, like, oh, don't kill my son, kill me. And he snaps the son's neck, starts snapping the necks with the force, dragging this woman across the ground. At this point, it's time for the person that's supposed to escort them to where they need to go next to leave off that planet. Um, they're trying to get away, but it's like Vader's right there. So, and Vader can sense Obi-Wan. He can sense him because he keeps like turning, and you keep thinking like, oh, it's just nothing. Vader's not, he looks this way, but like nothing is there. But Vader knows. So as Obi-Wan's kind of like, giving Leia and the escort a chance to escape. At one point, he's run out in there. He's freaking out. But then Vader's just out there. He beams that red lightsaber and he's looking at him. And so you see Obi-Wan for the first time hit that lightsaber on, or like he's about ready, he's holding it, but then he just runs, and I was like, dude, like, if anything, you should have been ready. But then it's like, given the situation, it's kind of a mixed feeling because it's like, I'm guessing from his standpoint, it's still his brother, but also this dude he knows he's not as strong as he used to be. And but the thing is, he doesn't even know half the rumors of everything that Vader has been through. They play that game of cat and mouse, hide and seek for a minute, but then after that, Vader catches up to him. He whips that lightsaber, and then you see Obi whip his, and he starts fighting. But it was like the difference, the gap in strength is huge because like literally Obi-Wan did not stand a chance. At one point in time, like Vader's literally just one-handed him the whole time, just one hand and bow, 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 knocking him down. Then does this, force chokes him, takes these type of flammable objects on the ground, ignites it with his lightsaber, drags Obi-Wan into the flames, into the fire. He's like, this is just the beginning of the pain that you will feel, because if you remember in the original Star Wars Episode 3, before Vader became the Vader that we know, he was still pretty much 90% flesh, but Obi-Wan did that move, cut off both his legs, the one arm that he had left, so now it's all mechanical limbs, and he's on a respirator and everything. Burns the crap out of Obi-Wan. But the person that was supposed to escort Leia and get her away, Leia requested her to go and save Obi-Wan while she goes on her own to meet the person that's supposed to get technically Obi-Wan and her off the planet. She goes back, rescues him, gets him away, and then after that there was an explosion with more fire, and it was like, you would think, I don't know, like Vader just stood there. You would think he would have, like, I don't know, like walked through the flames or used the force or something. He didn't do that. He just stood there and just let him go. And then after that, it cuts back to Leia, and she's running her way through the tunnel, and you hear the voice of Rhea like, don't be scared, come closer. And I was like, are you the one that's supposed to help us? Like, no, but we're going to go somewhere else. And then you see the escort dead. So Reva basically has Leia at this point. All in all, I know some people said that the show was dry. I didn't feel like that. I felt like, honestly, it kept my attention. And just because of how much I enjoyed the prequels, to see them come back, that was in and of itself the most beautiful thing I could ever hope for and dream for, and to do it in a series no less. So the first two episodes really did it, and it did it justice for me, because like when you watch New Hope, you see Obi-Wan as this, like, calm, He's one with the Force. He's pretty much all the wiser and all the knowing. But here you see him basically just disheveled the entire time, like mentally, battling it, going through the whole nine. And to even go against Vader was a nice treat too, because like and it almost made me, I don't know, maybe New Hope can just be left alone as it is. But I would have loved, in hindsight, for maybe them to do a remake of New Hope. I don't know, maybe that's blasphemy saying that, but maybe they can, because of just to tie that in, like, because when he meets him, he's like, Obi Wan. When I left you, I was but a learner, but now I am the master. That was kind of basically his whole first time and last time meeting Obi Wan. Now with him already seeing him, it's like, because at that point the dialogue should be like, dude, I already whooped you once before. You was barely hanging on. What you gonna do now with the way you look at this point? I don't know. Maybe they could do some changes with that. I don't know. Maybe who's to say? But that fight was really good. I like that Vader. I like just to see that difference of strength after everything that he's been through, the anger, the rage, like, and he's just basically just manhandling him with one hand, one saber. Like he wasn't even using both. He was bow, just knocking him down, and like he had no hopes of winning. I'm curious to see what's going to happen in the next episode. Will they have another fight? I don't know. But yeah, all in all, I love the series. I can't wait to see what they're going to do. And in hindsight, this made me actually want to go back and read more into the Vader comics, as well as getting the Mandalorian. Just really just get back into Star Wars, because that's always been a thing. And actually watching Knights of the Old Republic was actually pretty cool to see. Um, as a reminder, though, real quick, guys, as far as with reaction videos, and this doesn't change us doing reaction videos by no means. Some of you guys have asked, like, as far as like how I do it or why I may either have to make certain adjustments. It really just depends on like trying to follow the community guidelines as far as with YouTube. Some of my videos, even just recently, have been copywritten. However, it hasn't been affected to the point where I either received a strike or anything that's bad for the channel. Just simply I cannot monetize the content. But I do appreciate everybody for the views and everything that's going on with it, and I'm gonna keep making videos. However, when it comes to like so with anime is tricky, and even certain movies, movie trailers, give or take the company, Warner Bros. Stuff like that, it can be tricky. When I tried to do even at one point Thor was blocked from a whole minute, like at least a minute worth of a clip. It's one of those things where you have to really be mindful, and you as a content creator, you're just gonna have to get more creative with how you have to adjust the content, whether it's reversing the image, blurring the image, altering the sound, either minimizing the screen compared to you as reacting to it. Most of my videos as of late, you guys seen like where in the bigger part of this frame, the video's out here, and in the itty bitty corner here is where my camera is, and it shows me reacting. But in certain anime, certain things that's either being released, certain anime companies and stuff, I have to now do it safely to where this is me now, and in the corner, the small corner, will be where the video will be played out at in that image. To everybody as a content creator, it can be frustrating, but I don't think that should be a reason to deter anybody from being a doing reaction videos or anything. You just have to you can't even say don't hate the player, hate the game. Don't hate the player or the game. Some YouTubers, some content creators have more leverage than others. They're in a more established position. Heck, even for example, Tyrone Magnus was in active chat with Zack Snyder, the same one who did the director's cut for the Justice League. That being said, when he reacts to a video, he's not getting dinged for that. Same thing could be said about other anime shows. There's Crunchyroll. Long Beach Griffey has sponsorship with Crunchyroll. It's so many things that a lot of bigger content creators have access to that people who are upcoming do not. So for people that are upcoming, it's better to just play ball and try to do things the way it needs to be done and follow the guidelines as best as you can, so that way it doesn't bite you in the butt currently, or as you get established and you've done so much and then suddenly you end up with a situation, which that happened to Corey X. Kenshin, where he actually had got a strike even after getting the diamond plate for a video he had done some 3-4 years ago. um Will it change? I don't know. It seems like they're starting to lighten up, but I would say still be on our P's and Q's. You know, I know some people may be like, I'm just being me, like, and people won't let me express. The thing is, you're expressing yourself and creating on another platform. And honestly, as bad as that may sound, think of it really from a better standpoint. They're the middleman, they're the gatekeeper between you and the lawyers. You and the lawyers in that company that's trying to sue. It may sound even more crazy, but it's better that at least it goes through YouTube. YouTube comes to you and says, hey, you're doing this and that, and it's kind of causing, take that out, or we got to cut you off. And bam, you go ahead and make the necessary change. Or you could be that person like, nah, I'm keeping my stuff up, do what you're going to do. And then bam, you get cut off, and it's like, man, I can't believe, man, people just hating on me. Because you could go to Patreon, you could create your own site, but one thing I noticed with even smaller content creators, just know this: they're watching. They do see. You may not think they're seeing. Your idea of them not seeing you, your idea of them seeing you is, hey, I'm Mr. YouTube, and I see you're doing this and doing that. You know, here's your 1,000,000 subscribers, and here's the money. And that's not necessarily, that's just one version of it. But in the bigger grand scheme, they're watching to see, what are you posting, what is the content, all that. So, you know, just be on your P's and Q's, everybody, and just go ahead and take heed and do what you can, so that way you can go ahead and keep your channel out there. To Octus and everybody, I hope this answers your question a bit, or maybe goes into detail that I couldn't go into the comments. I had people, I had Octus ask, well, could I just blow up the image just some more? The more so from this angle, like right now, this webcam, if I blow up that image that's in that corner bigger, the more detailed that is, more defined that is, and that's more of them. Because like every time that I upload a video, it's going through a checking process. It's scanning the video, scanning for music, scanning for content. Little AMVs, little mashups are not as bad, and they're not bad at all, minus maybe just the music and it gets copyrighted, but that's forgivable. But when you, like when I did Chainsaw Man, when I did it full blown up and had this inverted where my camera was the one that was in the small corner, and I had the video of that, blocked immediately. So I hope this helps everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed my take or my talk on the Obi Wan Kenobi. Have you watched it? I strongly recommend you do. What were your thoughts on episode 3? If you like this video and you want to see more, guys, please leave a comment below on any reviews that you would like me to do on either shows, movies. If you want to see me stream, guys, I stream Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Late starts are between 6:15 and 6:30 p.m. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Trovo, D Live. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Discord, and Snapchat for updates and more. For reaction videos, guys, make sure you tune in. And if you have any ideas or suggestions on reaction videos, make sure you guys go ahead and leave a comment in for your boy. But to everybody, this is your boy Heems with a review. I'll see you guys soon. To everybody out there, peace till the next video.